Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, I hope that you are all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. So recently Ripple made a post over on X, and it was mainly spotlighting MICA. So we have the markets in crypto assets regulation takes effect this year in the EU and will usher in a new era for regulatory clarity, providing guidance for stablecoin issuers, custody of digital assets, licensing, compliance, and more. Now, within this report, we get a little bit of a glimpse on why MICA is such a big deal within Europe, but also even outside of Europe. So let's go over here. We have how MICA and European digital asset regulation are paving the way for institutional adoption. Now, if we scroll down, we are met with this year, the groundbreaking crypto regulatory regime will take effect in the European Union, known as MICA, Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation. It will immediately become a game-changing framework for the industry, likely to influence similar crypto asset regulation around the world. And this is one thing to focus on, right? Because with MICA, this puts an immense amount of pressure on every single nation around the world, including the US. This will light the match that starts the spread of the largest fire. I'm very excited about MICA because this will change the game. This will change everything around crypto. Crypto providers and issuers of money tokens that become licensed in what is the world's first major jurisdiction is to introduce such tailored guidelines. We'll be able to confidently do business in over 27 countries with 450 million residents that collectively represent nearly 1/5 of the global economy. MICA creates legal certainty, harmonizes rules across the EU, and provides a substantial opportunity for banks and crypto asset service providers looking to secure a foothold in the region. MICA provides a path forward for crypto regulation in EU markets. At around 150 pages, MICA takes existing best practices and adapts them to provide regulatory clarity surrounding digital assets and their use in payments and other financial services. The rules will take effect in June of 2024 this year for issuers of stablecoins and other CASP by the end of the year. Any company seeking to operate within the EU will need to be authorized by one of its 27 member states, financial regulators, and have an office in an EU country. By the way, Ripple does. Ripple will be one of those companies operating in the EU under these new regulations, which is a big deal considering the fact that, if you think about it, it means that Ripple does have the opportunity to grab a significant piece of this 450 million resident money movement opportunity. But regardless, they will need to provide clear marketing communications on their services, employ standard security and anti-money laundering practices, and transparently disclose fees, environmental impact, and more. And Ripple can do all of that. In return, they can earn a license that allows them to access the entire economic block. Big deal here. While these regulations for the crypto asset market have teeth for non-compliance potential €1 million penalties, the added transparency, uniformity, and certainty position MICA regulation as a catalyst for institutional adoption. It's therefore not surprising that it has broadly been well received by the European Union's crypto industry and should inspire confidence among a wide range of potential users. And this is what is MICA and why does it matter? So these are the key ones, right? We have obviously the first one, which is regulatory certainty and consumer protection, followed by stablecoin regulation, environmental considerations, and part of a broader regulatory framework. And this is where we actually have a few things mentioned around specific regulatory efforts like the Digital Operational Resilience Act, the DLT pilot regime, transfer of funds regulation, and also even the Digital Finance Security Resilience and Transparency Act. We also have global regulatory support. Again, countries like the UK are currently in the legislative process, and there's also a ton of other ones on the back end that are really kind of pushing forward as well. As another example, Ireland's virtual asset service provider registration, part of its regulatory framework, is the country's equivalent to MICA and is pivotal for the growth of the digital assets industry now, while MICA is being applied throughout the coming 12 to 18 months. It enforces stringent AML/CFT standards aligning with the EU's fifth anti-money laundering directive. And here we have the coverage and implications. And again, it kind of just goes on to mention a few things behind this. I don't want to read too much of this and waste your guys' time, but we also have institutional asset custody under MICA. And this is where we start to kind of see where the future around specifically institutional adoption and demand, will kind of become a much larger thing. Because again, regulations only enforce and provide a lot of clear roles that institutions need in order for them to actually tap into this market and really adopt crypto for what it is. And we also have that the regulation and requirements around MICA for custodians consist of two main parts. The first mandates that stablecoin issuers be distinct from the custodian, which this is where you kind of really look at, Ripple and possibly even MICA, which could be a CASP, a credit institution, or an investment firm. The second outlines the controls of a CASP must put in place on behalf of clients. These include assurances that client crypto assets remain unencumbered and are not used by the CASP for other purposes, maintenance of a register documenting each client's crypto positions, and an active client agreement documenting fees, security, and a custody policy. Regardless of how they really kind of, detail this is all really setting the stage for tokenization, institutional custody services, you name it. This is going to be a very big deal, and we have a new era of clarity for crypto assets regulation. Regardless of MICA's ultimate influence on the rest of the world, it is a remarkable leap forward for the EU. It also makes it easier for institutional digital asset custodians to operate confidently in the region, an important step in facilitating the broader adoption of crypto and digital money tokens. Those banks and financial institutions that serve as custodians must already navigate a dense thicket of security, technology infrastructure, insurance, and other considerations. With MICA, they gain a new level of certainty surrounding complex regulatory requirements that might otherwise constrain their business. And like I said, this is perfect for what Ripple is doing and what they are fully focused on. Outside of this, we also have over here from Smoke Dog Ripple MICA, June 2024. Here is the introduction, and you could see some of the list of the names that actually responded to the MICA rules, and Ripple is one of them. And we also have that this will take place in June of 2024. We have noting that the titles 3 and 4 of MICA will apply from June 30th, and the full regulation will apply from December of 2024. And again, this is where things really start to change drastically. I'm very, very excited about these regulations hitting the markets over in the EU, because this is definitely going to set the stage for the global push on regulations. Now, outside of this, there's also a great quote from Brad Garlinghouse recently, and a big shout out to Bank XRP for this. We have Ripple Brad Garlinghouse. In the United States, there are only two cryptos that have regulatory clarity: Bitcoin, and because of the fight we had at the courts, XRP. It has regulatory clarity that it's not a security. I think it's different. It does matter. And this is a huge deal, considering the fact that as we do start to see more and more regulatory movements, guess what? It sets XRP up for a prime position in this market, and it really allows XRP to show how big of a deal this is once regulations really hit the market. It does have a front runner advantage when it comes to this. A lot of people are overlooking this, and a lot of people think that's not a big deal, but this is a very, very big deal. Beyond this, there's also a great video posted by Subjective Views, because outside of regulation, we look at the next stage point, right? So there's a few phases to this. In order for the real show to really hit the stage and everyone see it, there needs to be a few phases. Phase 1 is regulating, right? Phase 2 is having the global standardization in place, which ISO 20022 is the standard behind this, as well as ISO TC 307. Once you have all of that standardization in place and regulations, there's only one more phase, and that is implementation. And we have here from the managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, the fourth industrial revolution is upon us. Check this out. Big shout out to Subjective Views.
We have been transitioning to a new digital economy, and the pandemic put it on steroids. And now artificial intelligence is likely to dramatically accelerate the fourth industrial revolution. This brings huge potential benefits, but also risks. A recent IMF study shows that artificial intelligence could affect up to 40% of jobs across the world and 60% in advanced economies. It could enhance workers' productivity, but also threatens some jobs. Investing in digital infrastructure and skills, as well as in strong social safety nets, will determine the pace of AI adoption and its impact on productivity. Both the climate and the digital transformation require coordinated global efforts to manage risks and capture the benefits they create.
Now again, as we really think about this, right, the fourth industrial revolution is upon us. Regulations are here, right? They are happening. This is proof of that. MICA is the starting point for this. If you think about everything that is set here, it's already in play. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this video clip up is because of what we heard in the past. Specifically, this was one that got posted back in November of 2023. Central bank digital currency development enters the next phase. Many of the world's monetary authorities are seeking more guidance on how best to pursue digital forms of central bank money. Now, again, this was November 20th. Then we got this as well 5 days prior to this. Remember, this happened after this. IMF says central bank digital currencies can replace cash. This is not the time to turn back. And we have Kristalina Georgieva said that the public sector should keep preparing to deploy central bank digital currencies and related payment platforms in the future. Again, Ripple and XRP can play perfectly into this. We have not yet reached land. There is so much more space for innovation and so much uncertainty over use cases. And again, as we think about where we are at currently, things are about to change drastically. Also, big shout out to Mr. Man XRP. We have Project Agora had recently been announced. The BIS held a press conference and were taking questions surrounding the technology to be utilized that will continue the singleness of money and allow for the central banks to continue with business as usual. We have a quote, "It's time for a big leap." Check it out.
I have another question on technological issues that comes from Joanna Wright from DL News. She says private sector tokenization projects have stumbled over interoperability and scaling challenges. How are you thinking about these limitations on blockchain tech?
Yeah, maybe I can take that, Andreas. So thank you, Joanna, for that question. I think you're absolutely right that various projects that have used blockchain, in particular public blockchains, have really come up against these, these very hard limits on scalability as well as interoperability. And this is why what I said at the beginning of my opening remarks is very, very important. If you have the monetary system centered around the central bank, we know that that works because that's our current system. And what we're going to do is basically to take what works and make it better. And as I said in my concluding remarks, the objective here is to perfect financial intermediation. And we know that that's scalable. We know that that works. And so I think this is the big leap as compared to these other blockchain-based innovation attempts, which are clearly, very interesting, but as we wrote about many times in our publications, if you're trying to achieve settlement through decentralized consensus, I mean that is a very, very difficult challenge to actually overcome. And so I think this is the reason why we believe this is much more promising as a way to solve real-world problems rather than the previous attempts.
And remember, right, like between the BIS and the IMF, these are elite organizations. The elites have been telling us the plan for a very long time, but now they are giving you a warning of what's to come, right? The fourth industrial revolution is upon us. They are now warning you while most of the population is asleep at the wheel. What I find crazy about all of this is that for the longest time, everyone is sitting here complaining about how slow things are to move around this market in terms of prices. Guys, the big leap here is once we have regulations, once we have standardization, there's no slowing things down. Once we start to see the technology being adopted and utilized, there is no slowing down. We are going to leap forward so fast. I want you all to understand this because, again, patience is so crucial at this point in time, especially how technology moves. Go back to the dot-com bubble, right? When you go back to that dot-com bubble, what ended up happening after we had, proper adoption and use of the technology, right? A lot of the nonsense and a lot of the hyped up nonsense that basically disappeared. What rose from the ashes was legitimate projects, and they soared to $1 trillion plus market valuations. But we're not talking about companies here. We're talking about actual technology. We're talking about the fourth industrial revolution. It is upon us. It is happening. And things are moving very fast now. But I'm telling you guys, we're just starting to see the building blocks moving fast. When things are actually fully built out, when things are fully implemented and utilized, that's when these technologies become a very, very big part of the global system. And that's when everything gets very exciting. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.